Hello and welcome to Volusia Magazine. I'm Amber Patterson. Today we have a horticulture segment for you with urban and residential horticulturalist Joe Sewers of the University of Florida, Volusia County Extension. Then we'll bring you some information on what the Volusia County Health Department is doing to keep our beaches environmentally safe. And later on in the program, Community Information Director Dave Byron will sit down with his guest, Votran General Manager Steve Sherrer. Those segments, news, and more coming right up on Volusia Magazine. I hope you stay tuned. Selected passengers at Daytona Beach International Airport now can benefit from the expedited passenger screening procedures put in place at the local airport by the Transportation Security Administration beginning mid-January. These new federal risk assessment-based procedures will allow some passengers to avoid some of the time-consuming elements of the screening process now required of all passengers.
We now have expedited passenger screening here at Daytona Beach International Airport. What that means is for people who are selected by the TSA, you'll have a little indicia on your boarding pass, and it will enable you to basically not have to take off your shoes, your belt, some other things that will make going through Daytona much more easy for many travelers. But it's the first time it's been here, so we're very enthused about it, and we think our passengers are going to be enthused as well, because it's going to make travel through Daytona Beach International Airport easier than ever.
Eligibility for participation in the new screening procedures is based on information provided to commercial airlines by TSA on a flight-by-flight and passenger-by-passenger basis and does not guarantee expedited screening procedures to eligible passengers at all times, including those passengers who have been enrolled in the Department of Homeland Security's DHS Trusted Traveler programs. However, many passengers will benefit, and the new capability could lead to a dedicated screening inspection line at some point in the future. Additional information on TSA's expedited screening procedures is available by visiting tsa.gov. For more information about Daytona Beach International Airport, you can visit flydaytonafirst.com. Is your home ready for the next big wind storm? Well, if not, the Volusia County Wind Hazard Mitigation Program may provide assistance. Funded with federal and state dollars, the funds are provided as a 5-year, zero-interest deferred loan secured by a mortgage. If the homeowner lives in the home for 5 years and complies with the program restrictions, the loan will be forgiven.
The program is specific for wind hazard mitigation. It's not a general repair program, so it can provide hurricane shutters, coverings for doors, can provide upgraded garage doors if your garage door doesn't meet wind codes, as well as gable end tie downs.
The maximum award per household is $10,000. Funding can be used only for owner-occupied homes in Volusia County, except in the city limits of Daytona Beach, Deltona, Ponce Inlet, and Port Orange. The county's Community Assistance Division will determine if applicants are eligible.
This program is funded with state and federal grants, and because of the grant requirements, all applicants have to be income eligible, and that means that all the members of the household need to provide information on their income and amounts, and that information is provided to staff, which is reviewed and verified to make sure that the household income is within the income guidelines of the program.
The Community Assistance Division also has funds to provide housing rehabilitation for homeowners with developmental disabilities and special needs. This program can provide home modifications that will allow homeowners to remain independent in their own homes and provide housing rehabilitation necessary to correct code violations or urgent repairs for health and safety concerns. Eligible applicants will be placed on a waiting list and selected from the waiting list based on established priorities. This program is not available for residents in the city limits of Daytona Beach, Deltona, and Ponce Inlet. For more information about the wind mitigation and the special needs housing rehabilitation programs, you can visit volusia.org/housing or call 386-736-5955.
I'm Volusia County Chair Jason Davis. The University of Central Florida is running a very successful business incubator at Daytona Beach International Airport in partnership with Volusia County. The UCF Business Incubation Program is a collaboration and economic development between UCF and the Florida High-Tech Corridor Council, which links startup companies with experienced professionals and provides access to educational programs that lead them to business success. The goal of the incubation program is to offer a supportive environment to inspire the entrepreneurial spirit, accelerate business growth, and create local employment opportunities. For more information, visit www.incubator.ucf.edu.
Hi, I'm Joe Sewards, and this is Horticulture Today. Today we're going to talk about cold protection in the landscape. A lot of folks have a variety of plants in their landscape, and most of them are well adapted to this climate. However, some of them might be tropical plants or exotic plants from climates that are typically warmer than it is in Volusia County, and some plants you just want to protect to preserve their size, to preserve some flowers through the winter. And that's what we're going to talk about today. If you look at this plant, obviously it made it through the most recent cold snap just fine. It's an evergreen plant, and it is showing no symptoms of cold damage because it was in a protected location. It didn't get as much sun. It was protected from wind. It was right next to the house where it got some heat coming off the house. So it's showing no symptoms of cold damage at all. Compare that to its identical twin on this side of the house. This plant is in a more exposed location. It gets a little bit more sun than the plant on the other side. It was exposed to morning sun when the temperatures were still cold, and it is showing symptoms of cold damage. Now that's not going to kill this plant, but it will slow its spring recovery, and it might slow its growth going into the spring and summer growing seasons. Let's talk about how to cover plants. One mistake that some people make is that they will cover things with plastic. While that can be done, it's important to understand that plastic has very little insulative properties. And if it gets really cold and the plastic touches the foliage of the plant, the foliage still might get damaged. So if you're going to cover with plastic, and in this case we have a piece of white plastic, which is fine, it's important to create a tent over the plant using tomato stakes or something that's going to keep the plastic off the foliage so that it won't damage the foliage if you get sub-freezing temperatures. The preferred thing to cover with is something like a bed sheet or a blanket or something, some type of cloth. It has to be a piece big enough to cover the entire plant and go all the way down to the ground. The reason being is you're trapping ground heat. At night, when the sun goes down, heat is radiated from the ground. And by covering plants, that's what you're trapping. Plants generate little to no heat themselves. So what you're doing is you're trapping radiant ground heat from the ground and keeping it a little bit warmer underneath the cover. So that's why it's important that the cover go all the way to the ground. The next morning, when the sun comes up, uncover your plants once temperatures are above freezing. The reason being, and this is especially true if it's plastic, it will heat up underneath the cover, and that might cause the plant to break dormancy. And once plants break dormancy, they have no cold hardiness whatsoever. For more information on cold protection or any other garden-related topic, feel free to call the University of Florida Volusia County Extension Office. For Horticulture Today, I'm Joe Sewards.
Swimming and other water-related activities are excellent ways to get the physical activity and health benefits needed for a healthy life. Americans swim hundreds of millions of times in pools, oceans, lakes, rivers, and hot tubs and spas every year, and most people have a safe and healthy time enjoying the water. The Florida Department of Health in Volusia County tests beach water during the year to make sure bacteria levels are safe for swimmers. Stephanie Strong explains in this segment of Community Health Matters.
Whether you are taking a stroll along Florida's beaches, playing in the sand, or going for that dip in the ocean, spending time at your favorite beach should be as enjoyable as possible. And the Florida Department of Health is helping you with a program that monitors beach water.
In the Healthy Beaches program, we test our ocean water on a regular basis all year round to make sure that it's safe.
And the reason it's important is we test for a bacteria called Enterococcus, which is an indicator of feces in the water. When those levels get too high, we can issue an advisory and hopefully keep people out of the water and keep those people that might have swam from getting sick.
Enterococci are enteric bacteria that normally inhabit the intestinal tract of humans and animals. The presence of enteric bacteria is an indication of fecal pollution, which may come from stormwater runoff, pets, wildlife, and human sewage.
If the bacteria level were too high and people would swim in the water, a certain number of people would become sick, and usually the type of symptoms that they're going to experience would be diarrhea, possibly vomiting, and maybe a skin rash.
According to studies conducted by the Environmental Protection Agency, enterococci have a greater correlation with swimming-associated gastrointestinal illness in both marine and fresh waters than other bacterial indicator organisms, and are less likely to die off in salt water. If an enterococci result were observed to exceed 103 colony-forming units per 100 milliliters of beach water sampled, and a resampling result also exceeds this value, then an advisory would be issued for the sampling site. The following Volusia County beach locations are being monitored: Bicentennial Park, Granada Boulevard, Seabreeze Boulevard, Main Street, International Speedway Boulevard, Silver Beach Avenue, Florida Shores Boulevard, Dunlawton Avenue, Tornado Avenue, Ocean View Way, North Jetty, South Jetty, and 27th Street. For more information, please visit www.volusiahealth.com. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Stephanie Strong, Public Information Officer for the Florida Department of Health in Volusia County.
Hello, I'm Dr. Willie Kimmons, a member of the Children and Families Advisory Board. This volunteer group works with the Volusia County Council and makes recommendations that promote healthy children and strong families. It is an honor and a pleasure to serve on this board. The county has openings on several advisory boards, which allow you to play an important role in the policy-making process. If you'd like to share your time and talents with your county government, we'd like to hear from you. Please visit volusia.org/advisory and complete an application of the board of your choice. Today, we must make a concerted effort to save our children, because our children are our future. Thank you.
Time to head into the studio to join our very own Community Information Director, Dave Byron, with his guest, Votran General Manager, Steve Sherrer. Dave?
Well, thanks, Amber, and hi, everyone. Votran, the county's public transit system, is facing an unprecedented demand for service. Ridership last year was up a record 4% and 6% the previous year. This leaves the county transit system struggling to meet service needs while holding down the subsidy from the county's general tax fund. Among the fiscal steps the county council has approved is a fare increase for Votran riders, which kicks in the 1st of February. Today we'll try to put this into some perspective. We have with us in the studio Votran's General Manager, Steve Sherrer. Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Dave. How are you today?
Thank you much. Happy New Year to you.
You too.
Hey, Steve, before we get into the mechanics of the fare increase and so forth, let's talk about Votran service in general. Maybe for newcomers to the area, that sort of thing. Give us kind of a general description of Votran Public Transit Service?
Well, Votran is the county-wide public transportation provider here in Volusia County. We operate several different services. Primarily our fixed route service, which is the large buses that you'll see driving throughout the county. Right. Those are on set routes and set schedules. We also offer what we call our Gold service. It's a paratransit service for people with disabilities that prevent them from being able to use the normal fixed route service. Right. And then we also operate a flex service down in the New Smyrna Beach area. That's a curb-to-curb flexible transit service. So
and a service of Volusia County government, correct?
Yep, that is correct.
Steve, as I've come to learn, you look at the profile of the average Votran rider, and you look at who's riding public transit in Volusia County, maybe a little bit different from some of the urban areas where parking and congestion is a problem. Here in Volusia County, as I understand it, the majority of your riders are people who, for whatever reason, don't drive.
Yep, a large percentage of the folks that we carry on a daily basis are dependent upon our service for a variety of different reasons. Right. And a lot of those people either don't drive, don't have a driver's license for some reason, or just don't have the money on a monthly basis to pay car payments. Right. And insurance and that type of thing.
Is it fair to say essentially a social service?
Yeah, you could say that the majority of the people that use our service, it certainly is a social service.
And let's talk about the budget just for a minute. Again, being a part of Volusia County government, what's your budget and how does that come together?
Our budget this current year is approximately $21 million. That comes together through a variety of different funding sources. We receive a good amount of money from Volusia County through the general fund. And then we also receive funding through the Federal Transit Administration, through different grants, through the state of Florida. The Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged helps fund some of our demand responsive service. So it's a variety of different funding sources, and also included in that is certainly the revenue that we generate from the fares.
Sure. Steve, I know that I've read that in most cases, if not all cases, public transit systems don't make a profit. They're not self-liquidating in that sort of sense. Is that the case with Votran?
Definitely, yeah, it definitely is. We would have to charge a significantly higher fare while maintaining the same level of riders that we have now to actually break even. And if you charged the amount that we would need to charge to generate that much revenue, you would certainly lose the majority of your customers. Yeah,
no doubt about that. That seems very logical. And I know that as we've discussed previously, ridership on Votran in the last several years has been really on a very steady, almost surprising climb. As I said at the opening, in some cases 4 and 5, 6% a year. I've learned from people like you that's a pretty significant increase in the public transit circle.
It is. When you start looking at national averages for increases in passenger boardings, the ridership increases that Votran is experiencing are significantly higher than the national average.
Why do you think that is, Steve? I mean, why do you think ridership is growing so rapidly here?
Well, I mean, we've got a mostly transit-dependent population, so the people that are using our services have to have our service. Right. Votran is a safe system. It's convenient, it's reliable, and more people realize the advantages of using public transportation and saving $1 here and there. The routes continue to get busier. We try to continue to provide improvements in our service to our customers, and that, of course, causes people to come back.
So I know one of the things, and really what we really want to talk about now that we got the background out of the way, is one of the steps that the County Council has taken based on a recommendation from staff is a fare increase. So let's talk about the rationale for a fare increase, Steve.
Okay. Well, obviously, as we talked about just a moment ago, the cost to provide service is increasing. Right. And so we got to looking at when the last time we did a fare increase was. That was 2007. Right. And we started looking at what the operational costs were in 2007, comparing them to what we're having to spend now to provide the level of service that we provide today. And that ratio was getting off. Right. We needed to look at potentially raising fares to help reduce the amount of subsidy from the county's general fund
Right.
that has to go into the budget every year.
Sure. So I think the fares right now for a full fare, one-way fare, is I think $1.25. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So what's on the table, Steve, in terms of what's going to happen to fares?
Well, coming up in February 16th to be exact, fares will change, and the adult fare that is currently $1.25 will go to $1.50. So that those increases will go down significantly, or will go down throughout the different types of fares that we offer. So the seniors and disabled fare will go from 60 cents to 75 cents. The youth fare will go to 75 cents. We actually are changing the age range for youth. Used to be that under 6 rode for free. Now it'll be under 7. So the youth range will be 7 to 18. So that actually would help out that range of folks.
Right.
And then the pass prices would also go up slightly.
Right.
So if you're used to buying a day pass for $3, then after February, or on February the 16th, you would then pay $3.50.
Okay. So that's a fare increase, as you say, goes into effect February 16th. My understanding is it's basically a two-step process. I guess the following year you're going to make another adjustment, I guess.
That's correct, yep. In 2015, the same time period in 2015, then the adult fare would go from the $1.50 that it'll become January the 16th. It'll go to $1.75 in February of 2015.
And where does that put Votran in terms of what other transit systems in Florida charge for fares?
Well, currently Votran's fares are well below the average. I think in the last calculation that we did for the average fares, it was about $1.56 across the state.
Right.
So when we go to $1.50, we'll still be slightly below the average. And then whenever we go to $1.75, depending on what other systems do.
Right.
We know that other systems right now are in the process of implementing fare increases.
Right.
And could potentially do that again before 2015. But at $1.50, we'll still be slightly below the last calculation of the average.
Isn't the fare for Lynx in Orlando, isn't it like $2?
I believe so. For the normal fixed route adult fare is $2.
Yeah. And obviously, if you get more fares, more fare revenue, that's going to generate, I guess, some additional revenue for Votran. Is that the thought here?
We do. We expect that the increase to $1.50 would generate around $230,000 over the period of a year.
Okay.
Additional
Right.
revenue beyond what we normally
Sure.
would bring in.
And as we've said earlier, you know, a lot of these folks that ride Votran, you're very price-sensitive people that have limited incomes and so forth. So obviously, for a regular rider on Votran, I mean, this is you know, something that's going to hit them in the pocketbook. What have we done, if anything, to try to A, get them informed, and B, to see if there's anything we can do to kind of soften the impact on them?
Well, we went through a pretty extensive public information process.
Right.
We held a variety of meetings. I believe we had 5 different meetings, public meetings throughout the county, to advertise for people to come in and let us know what their concerns are, so that we could go through a presentation and provide them with the information that council was going to be considering prior to the fare increase going into effect.
Right.
So we went out with a variety of different meetings. We've done notices on our vehicles, around our stations. We're on our website. We're going back out with additional notifications that will be placed in buses coming within the next few days, as well as take ones and postings around our stations and terminals. So we wanted to make sure that people weren't surprised by the increase, and we wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to answer their questions, any questions that they may have based on the information we're putting out.
Is, you know, I think in looking at your different options for purchasing fares, I mean, if you're a regular rider, let's say you take Votran 5 days a week, in the morning and in the evening, go to and from work, you can buy a monthly pass, which is, you know, maybe one of the most economical ways to do this if you're a regular rider.
Definitely. If you use Votran services on a daily basis, the best thing to do is to purchase those multi-use passes, because you mentioned a monthly pass.
Right.
A monthly pass, once the fares go up, a monthly pass will be $45. That'll get you unlimited boardings on Votran's fixed route service for $45 in a period of a month.
Wow.
If you paid the cash fare each time you boarded, that would be significantly higher if you were using it 2, 3, 4 times a day to take care of your daily needs. So it's definitely a more economical option.
And for people that perhaps want more information about the fare increase or Votran in general, how do they get more information, Steve?
The easiest way for people to get information is to go to our website. That's votran.org.
Right.
And there's also a link on the county's website, volusia.org, where it'll direct them directly to Votran's site. So there's good information there on Votran services in general, and there's plenty of information on the fare increase and things that we've got going. So it's a good source for information.
Well, Steve, before I let you go, we got to give a pat on the back to one of your operators. My understanding is you just had an operator that has now gone 3 million miles.
Yes, we do.
Without an accident, and maybe that might even be a first in the state of Florida. What's that operator's name?
Doc Wilson. Doc Wilson has been with us for 36 years. It takes about 12 years to drive 1 million miles. Well, Doc has done that for 36 years. He's driven without a preventable accident, which calculates out to about 3 million miles. So,
amazing.
Amazing, it really is.
So we're going to give a big shout out to Doc Wilson, and you know, we talked about him when he made 2 million. Obviously, that was 12 years ago.
Yep,
so.
yep. Well, we're very proud of Doc, and he's a great asset to have on your team. He's certainly safe and a great person as well.
And he likes what he does.
He loves what he does, that's for sure.
Our guest today, Steve Sherrer. He's the General Manager of Votran Public Transportation. And with that, Amber, we'll go back to you.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you for watching Volusia Magazine. If you have any questions about the show, feel free to give us a call at any of the numbers you see listed here, or you can log on to volusia.org and click on the News tab at the top of the screen to find us. Incidentally, you can find the County Council's meeting calendar there too. In fact, you can use volusia.org to find out about meeting dates, workshops, topics of interest, activities, and how you can become involved. And last, we hope you won't forget to listen to Volusia Today. It's Volusia County Government's weekly radio program. Volusia Today airs every Tuesday and Sunday mornings on the local radio stations you see on your screen. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Amber Patterson. Have a wonderful evening.